Hi everyone, my name is Shay Boloor, but you might know me as Stocks Heavy Shy on X. I'm here to talk about the 2024 election, and boy, is it going to be a very entertaining one. So, depending on what poll or betting market you see, it is going to be a coin flip. It's either going. I see Donald Trump's winning by 4 basis points, Kamala's winning by 3 basis points. Like nobody really knows. All I know is there's going to be volatility ahead of this major catalyst that's 3 weeks away. So how am I playing it? I think something as polarizing at this election where it's a coin flip, you kind of have to have a strategy for if Kamala's going to win, or in a strategy if Trump's going to win. So during this recording, I'm going to go over my 3 favorite names for each candidate. And before I show my technical case of like where I'm saying it's going to pull back and where it's going to head if that candidate wins, I will be going over the fundamental basis because although I'm a long-term growth investor, I do wear a technical hat. So the way I frame it is fundamentals teach me what to buy, technicals teach me when to buy it. So that's kind of the order I'm going to go along with during this presentation, where I'm going to go over 3 names for Kamala, 3 names for Trump, but I'm going to do the fundamental case first and then the technicals. So let's get started. The first candidate we're going to speak on is Kamala Harris. So what are the 3 names I'm bullish on if we are in a Kamala Harris-led presidency? The first one that pops up is First Solar. So what is First Solar? They're essentially the largest U.S. solar manufacturing company, valued at $20.4 billion. They're trading at 4.5 times EV to sales, 14 times 2024 free cash flow, while growing top line 35%. So on the far right, you can see specifically on what the competitive advantage is for First Solar. The reason I like them the most, I believe they're the highest quality among the group. Right now, you can see the solar energy comps right in front of you where there's 10 names. First Solar is right here. I'm also including Tesla just because the energy side of their business is firing all cylinders. But right now, we're going to talk First Solar because I do think they are the most heavily exposed if Kamala wins, mainly because the IRA is and the Section 45 tax credit will be a direct beneficiary on First Solar, where if Kamala wins and the IRA is still intact, their gross margins go from 20 to 22% without the IRA to 44 to 46% if they have the IRA. So that's nearly double the gross margins if the IRA is intact. So essentially double the profits for First Solar if Kamala wins versus Trump. So clearly they're going to be a direct beneficiary on Kamala Harris-led presidency. And if you see among the group, it has been a tough 2024 where nearly half of the names are showing negative growth, while you're seeing minimal profitability as well among the solar energy names, where even like Array Technology is one name that's profitable, Fluence is profitable, Tesla is profitable, but First Solar is among the cheapest among the names while also growing nearly the most among their peers. So they have a great combination of bottom line profitability and top line growth. And I just explained that if these credits are still in place, their gross margins theoretically should be doubling. So I think there's a lot of room for this name to run in a Kamala Harris-led presidency. So what does the chart say on when to buy? Pulling this up right here, I'm seeing, so clearly, if you look at this week, there's been some selling pressure. I'm anticipating this week there's been a lot of polling that Trump is gaining momentum on winning the election, and that's clearly impacting First Solar. Although they're up 3% today, you can see how red this candle has been this week. And I drew the flooring right here where ever since the gap up they experienced in May 20th in 2024, it has kind of continued to fill that gap. It hasn't really been able to break out. So even after this gap is retested once in August, retested it again in September, and right now it's at that same level. So I think if it kind of ranges over here for the next couple of weeks, I think that this creates a really interesting spot, mainly because there is a massive volume also basing over here at the 210 level, which is exactly where they're at. So it bounced at the floor, from the prior test, there's a volume profile around 210, 211. And I think if you zoom out, if Kamala does win, I could see just a retest right here of highs, and that's a 50% move nearly. So I think on a high quality name like First Solar, which is in the industry, solar industry is going to be heavily impacted on Kamala presidency. This is one of my favorite high quality names to capitalize on that. And there is a 50% move to be made, especially if it holds this level, which is it's shown it has. So where's the 21 EMA right now? That's one of my favorite metrics to use. 21 EMA is at 223. So I could see it retesting towards this level as we get closer to election, hopefully holding this base. But one of my favorite, besides the 21 EMA on the weekly chart, my next favorite metric is the anchored average VWAP. So that indicates the average volume and price that an investor trades this name in a specific time window. Every stock on their chart has a specific characteristic. You can't just use, I like to use 21 EMA on every name. Every name has its own characteristic. This anchored average VWAP kind of is able to be a good benchmark for that. So right now, if you want to, I like to use a volume profile to indicate, all right, so where did new investors come into this name? And it generally behaves along with the stock price then. So right now, I like to say, wow, this is if you look at this candle, it is just a ton of buying that happened at this moment, July 2022. And that is one of my favorite looking candles. So I'm going to track that right here. If you see that level, if we do break 200, if Trump does gain some momentum in the coming weeks, where is the near-term bottom? I see 178 right now around this anchored VWAP as a near-term bottom. And that makes more sense because look at this average gap, this gap we have over here where it is thin air. There's no volume profile. So I do think 178, probably closer to 180 actually will be a near-term bottom for the stock if it does break. So that's my first name for a Kamala Harris-led presidency. The next one I want to talk about is Alibaba. So I think the solar is going to do well for Kamala Harris-led presidency. The next industry is going to be China. Trump has been very aggressive on his policy towards China in his prior presidency. I think that's going to happen again his next term if he is elected. So if Kamala does win, I think the China tariff or China trade wars narrative will be removed. And that corresponds with a time when the Chinese government is really infusing a ton of cash to stimulate the China economy. And you're seeing a lot of the names across the board catch bids the past couple of weeks. I think that continues if Kamala does win. So why is Alibaba my favorite name among the group? Well, I view Alibaba as, again, I hate to use this term, but they are the Amazon of China, not just because of their e-commerce presence, it's because of their cloud presence as well. And now there is an AI tailwind kind of associated with that name going forward, where on their last earnings, they showed triple-digit growth in AI-related products. They showed double-digit revenue growth in their cloud products, and their e-commerce is picking back up now. And if the Chinese economy is picking back up steam due to all the stimulus that the government is providing, like e-commerce business should be flying off the radars as well. So that's my thesis on why I think Alibaba is a really interesting name that's going to probably catch a major bid if Kamala does win. Mainly reduction in tariffs that are going to lower operational barriers and costs associated with being an e-commerce giant. And that's why I want to buy them fundamentally. And let's see where the technicals are taking us. So technicals over here, let me add them here. So the technicals are getting really interesting. So as you can see, it's been basing quite some time over here. So it's been basing for how long? Nearly 2 years. And it finally looks like it's curving up this 21 EMA. You can see the volume profile right here. It's just been a ton of volume accumulation happening in 75 range, finally breaking out. However, there's clear rejection at the 200 SMA on the weekly charts. This is a level that it hasn't really quite broken through. Might be a near-term resistance until we get through the election noise, because if Trump's gaining momentum, that is a no good situation for Chinese names. And I think that might be preventing the breakout. It looks like at this 118 level, that was a previous high as well in January 2023, previous high in July 2022. So like this is a heavy resistance for this name. And now that the 200 SMA is also aligning with that, I think 120 is a massive level. So if I want to see like if we do break 120, Kamala's momentum continues, where is it going to go, the stock? So where's the volume profile showing? I have to go very far back to see where I can see some volume pickup. I think right here, there's a great candle right here. I don't know what happened right here in August 2016, but ton of accumulation. And it looked like this is what caused them to break out of this multi-year base as well. So this volume profile is telling me, wow, if it breaks 120, there is then volume over here. So now that's above this key indicator, I can see it like the first mini volume shuffle retesting is at the 150 level. But really, I think we slice through there, and the massive resistance is actually at 175. So my thesis, if this China theme continues and we're actually breaking out this multi-year base, I think 175 is a great spot for a price target in the next 12 months, because there's just so many tailwinds for Alibaba, stimulus for a Chinese government stimulus in the economy. Kamala-led presidency will remove any kind of trade war fears. They're breaking out of a multi-year base over the 200-day SMA. Like there's a ton of different tailwinds aligning on Alibaba that 175 feels realistic. And if you look at the fundamentals, they're trading at 10 times free cash flow, less than 8 times EBITDA, 10 times earnings. Like if it went from 110 to 175, like it's still undervalued in my opinion. So like I really do think that is doable. And that right there would be a 40%, 40 to 45% move, even after being up 41% for this year. So first theme was solar, Kamala's presidency. Second is China name. What's the third theme? Housing. So Kamala Harris has been very ambitious on what her housing initiatives will be if she becomes president, where she's throwing out offers like $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers to boost the demand. She's also saying that she's going to allocate $100 million in HUD Pro housing grants to remove any barriers such as outdated zoning laws, local permitting issues, to help increase the supply and improve affordability. So housing is a major component of what she's running on. And there's really only 3 comps that I like to use for real estate stocks. It's Zillow, Redfin, and Opendoor. So Opendoor is fundamentally going through a messy balance sheets. And I immediately like showing negative revenue growth while negative operating metrics being down 60% in the year. That's a no-go for me. But deciding between Zillow and Redfin, how did I decide which one to really target? It's because of their chart. Redfin's chart looks very interesting right now to me. So it has been basing for, again, since 2022. It's been going through a 2-year base right now. So because it's been going through a 2-year base, and it looks like it's finally breaking out with the rate cut cycle beginning, as well as housing is a very hot topic in this upcoming election. And Kamala Harris is the most bullish among the housing stocks, but like it's still a topic of discussion that needs to be fixed for both candidates. So that is on the radar for a lot of investors. So it's been catching a bid in the past couple of months, mainly because the rate cut cycle began and also a hot topic among the election. But right now, like it went from $5 all the way to $14 in a matter of 6 months. So it nearly tripled in a matter of 6 months. It's pulling back a bit right now, but if you look at this trend since it broke out from this trend breaking bottom, it has really held its own right here. So I think if it holds right at this level, using the 200 day SMA right here. I think it is really interesting on like if it holds this level, like it wouldn't be I feel like this level right here would be the magnet for this name. And guess what? That's 119% bounce off that trend level right here if it holds. So that's really interesting. Where like, oof, if their comma does win, like that $22, $23 level is where I can see it. But let's see where the volume profile would be on this name. I like to use initially right here. I'm noticing a massive spike at this level. Look at that candle. Look at that volume accumulation. So if I want to use using that anchor VWAP from that massive volume accumulation, like if it does break here, where would it bounce? I'm looking at the $8 range. But again, like the volume is thin air above $10. So like if it does bounce here, I really do think it just runs up into that $22, $23 range. But that is the next bottom layer I'm seeing is at $8 range. So I do think that Redfin's an interesting play versus Zillow because it just tripled in a matter of 6 months. It's holding this range right here to a T, and the volume profile is just very thin air after $10 after a multi-year base. So I think this is a prime name to really catch a bid if we are involved in a comma-led presidency. So now that we go over 3 names for a comma-led presidency, it is going to be First Solar, Alibaba, and Redfin. Solar, China, housing. Those are the 3 sectors I think are going to catch major bids if Kamala wins the presidency. Now let's transfer over to Donald Trump. What happens if Donald Trump wins the presidency? The first name I want to bring up is the new AI darling, Palantir. So as you can see over here, Palantir, this is the top 15 most expensive growth stocks in the market right now. And if you look at the EV to gross profit, it has nearly 40 to 50% higher EV to gross profit multiple than the next level, which is Samsara at 27.9. So it is very expensive among the group. However, it's justified because there has been a narrative in the software space where AI will be cannibalizing the whole industry, which I think is absolutely accurate. However, there's going to be a handful of names that are going to come out of this stronger, and they're going to be able to charge unprecedented power if they can solidify themselves in the enterprise AI tech stack. Palantir has proven in the last 2 earnings they belong in that tech stack, and because of that, the market's bidding them up. Hence, the 153 year-to-date profit, 153 year-to-date performance in 2024. But under Trump, that's why they're like the clear AI play because there's a security component to them as well. Where in the Trump administration, Palantir could utilize their AI first mover advantage in data integration and analytics to secure a lot more larger and more complex government contracts for national security, immigration control, defense. If they are known as how NVIDIA is known as the AI hardware play, Palantir is being known as an AI software play. I think that Trump's going to want to protect USA as much as possible against any kind of foreign threat. He's going to allocate a lot of budget towards that. And I think Palantir will be a direct beneficiary off that because they have a large component of their revenue is from the government. I think that's going to pick it up if Trump is the president. So let's see how their chart looks. Palantir's chart is breaking out. Is the previous high right here was back in 2021. They are breaking out over here after the last earnings report. It is just taking off every single day. It's an all-time high. So I think this continues to run with the large government contracts being factored into their next couple earnings or next couple years of earnings due to the government side, while also corresponding with the commercial success they're seeing in enterprise AI. That's 2 massive tailwinds for this name. So that's why it's my number 1 stock on the Trump-led presidency because we're seeing the strength in the commercial enterprise AI space for Palantir. The government side is very unpredictable. You can't predict what the deals are going to come through. They're consistently renewing, but the timing of it's tricky. But if Trump's goal is for increased security, national security, he's going to use AI, and you can anticipate the deals are going to be a lot more constant, a lot higher. So if there's any kind of pullback ahead of the election, I do like the $36 level. The next level is around $33. But like this name, like ever since May 2023, this massive bottom candle, that's accumulation. A lot of new investors got into the stock then. Like it's shown consistent support along the way, testing it multiple times in summer of 2023, and then again in January 2024. I don't think we ever hit this level, but I do think that's something good to call out just in case. $22. But the next volume shelf is $25. I don't think we're going to get there. I really think there's just so many tailwinds for a name like Palantir that you're going to have to take the quicker wins, which is $36 and then $32. So that's my first name. It's national security, but within the AI thematic for a Trump-led presidency. The next one is going to be Coinbase. I think crypto is going to be absolutely bullish if Trump wins the election. And mainly because he's more lenient on regulation, and especially in early secular growth themes like crypto. And I think his pro-crypto regulatory environment that he had in the prior presidency, I think that's going to be maybe the tailwind needed or a catalyst needed to kind of push a lot of the cryptocurrency as a mainstream financial asset potentially in the future, next couple of years. And maybe help like with the SEC regulations and compliance standards. Either way, Coinbase is going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries off this, mainly because the reason I cite Coin, like again, I use these three brokerages as my comps for what crypto move to do rather than like, I don't want to do the crypto mining companies. Like I want a brokerage that has crypto exposure. That's like my main play, even though I think Bitcoin's a great investment as well. Same with Ethereum, but like using US equities, I do think Coinbase is the best name among all three of these, because a good example is like Coinbase's volume is around $37 billion in like crypto volume, trading volume, nearly double what Robinhood's is. However, Robinhood makes only 81 million off of their crypto trading volume, while Coinbase makes nearly 8x that. So the good example is Coinbase makes 8 times more revenue than Robinhood on crypto trading volume. So clearly the juice is being made for Coinbase. And I think it's because of a lot of institutional trades are happening on Coinbase versus Robinhood, which is very retail centric. So where do I buy? Now I know what to buy. When do I buy in Coinbase? So let's look at the chart over here. Coinbase is interesting because it isn't near at all-time highs, even though crypto is kind of picking back a bid this week. It's struggling to catch a bid. So the first metric I want to use is like, all right, anchored VWAP. Where is the new? There's been a lot of new investors in Coinbase after it bottomed in 2022 and it's been basing for the next couple of years. A lot of people, if you look at it here, got in July 2023 at this breakout. It's been basing for 2 years. Again, very similar characteristic of the other names I talked about. And it's been breaking out over here. And if you track this anchored average VWAP, it has shown to be a clear support level. It didn't break it in February 2024 when it pulled back. It pulled back slightly during the yen carry trade issue. Actually, not the yen. This is the yen carry trade issue. It held up. But during the September sell-off, it broke through but picked back up. And you see over here, it's consolidating. So there's clear support at Coinbase at this level. I do think that it's somewhat worrisome on the volume profile at this level, because if it does break, I think we are in some trouble, because if you look at all their indicators, the metrics, it is below all of them already. So it's a messy chart, but if it holds up the anchored VWAP, I do think it retests this previous high. And if it does, that's a 70% move. And if you guys don't know, I am anticipating a blow off top crypto Santa rally. Like I think this is November and December is being priced into a blow off top rally for a lot of crypto related assets, especially if Bitcoin can break through that 75,000 level, which it's shown as resistance. But if it does break through, I think it's going to be a blow off top type of move. So do you think Coinbase is one of the biggest beneficiaries off that? Because like I said earlier, they make 8x the revenue than Robinhood does on their crypto trading. So that's a massive move. So like once crypto's raging again, I think a lot of volume will start going towards their brokerage. So I went over the first name for Trump-led presidency. It's national security and AI. Second one is crypto industry. What's the third industry that's going to catch a bid on a Trump-led presidency? It's not what you would think. I'm talking EV. A lot of people think that EV would catch a bid on a Kamala-led presidency, and that's absolutely true. There is nothing, you're not wrong in that at all. However, due to the massive advantage that Tesla has over their competitors on a profitability basis, I think if the IRA or the tax credits is removed from EV cars, no other competitor has the profitability margins that Tesla does. Tesla has a first mover, large market share that they can like have the pricing power needed to undercut their competitors like we've seen the past 2 years. Their competitors don't have that luxury. So if those tax credits are removed, I think that removes the crush that the Tesla's competitors have been living on for years. And that's just going to allow the best of breed, clear number one, just widen the delta between them and everyone else. So although it might hurt Tesla fundamentals, I think it's more of a pain for their competitors where it's a lesser of two evils, and that's going to benefit their moat or the advantage. And I do think a Trump-led presidency, like the relation that Trump has with Elon is hard to ignore. Like they are friends and they're very public with it about it. I do think that it's going to help. Trump might help a lot with the regulatory approvals needed for robo-taxis or any kind of initiatives on Elon's vision on SpaceX, Starlink, Tesla. Like regardless, like I think it's more of a scratch your back, you scratch mine if you become president. And I think that's going to be a major benefit for a name like Tesla. So now you know what to buy. When do I buy it? If you look at the Tesla's chart right now, they just had their 1010 robo-taxi event just yesterday. It was a big disappointment, as you can see with this massive weekly red candle. There was lack of clarity on exactly when the robo-taxi fleet are going to be released. They said the price point is pretty vague, under 30,000. There wasn't any kind of detail that the market wanted. It was very visionary rather than actual specifics on what to do going forward on the robo-taxi fleet. So right now the chart looks a little troublesome, where if you go in the past year, this 265 level has been a clear resistance. Like it is struggled to break through it in October 2023. It struggled again in December 2023. It struggled again in summer of this year. And guess what? Same level, this most recent rally, ever since on the 70% bump from August bottom, it's been in clear resistance then. So I do think that if we do break this 265 level, I think it's going to really break out where if you, let's see, pull the, this is a great base right here. I think if it breaks the 265, you can see how thin the volume is above it. So like, who knows? Like I can see us testing the prior highs in 2022 potentially if we finally break over this 265. Worst case scenario, like if it continues going lower, things do get a little worrisome if you can't hold up on this level at the 21 EMA at 219. You can see like it should be holding up there. It's been support prior. If it doesn't hold up there, I mean, maybe the 50 SMA on the weekly charts at 207. But worst case scenario, like this trend we've experienced since 2019. So if we don't break through that 265 level, I do think that a next resistance will be the 207 at the 50 SMA on the weekly charts. And maybe worst case scenario, like you see this bottom trend, like ever since 2019, you can see that has been being held up. So like that's a long-term trend resistance. So I'm hoping that worst case scenario, I really don't think it breaks 150, but I just want to give a worst case scenario environment if we do pull back. But I really feels like this is a consolidation level. But if a Trump does win this election, like it will I do think that's going to be a tailwind needed for them to break through the 265 level. And that top is going to be the prior high is in 400. So like there's a ton of room to run for this name if it breaks above 265, because especially with the thin volume. So I've gone over on a Kamala Harris-led presidency, the three themes I think are going to be the hot pockets of. It's going to be solar, it's going to be China names, it's going to be housing. In a Trump-led presidency, it's going to be national security, and I think AI is going to be the main beneficiary of that, which is Palantir, the king of the AI applications. The second is going to be crypto because of the lack of regulations that he kind of has had in the previous presidency. I think that's going to continue. And the third one is going to be EV is going to struggle, but Tesla should benefit because they are the clear winners of this comp, and they're going to benefit from the destruction of their competitors, from that IRA tax being removed. Tesla should be able to catch a major bit from that. That's the 6 names I think that everyone needs to have on their radar to anticipate this 2024 election. I will say I am very surprised that the market really hasn't pulled back to retest those September lows when we are in a seasonality weakness period of September and October. The election is 3 weeks away, where it is very polarizing, where nobody knows who's going to win. It's a flip of a coin, essentially. But I did highlight the specific sectors for each candidate that I think will catch a bid. And I think the follow through on the election is going to be beneficial for those names as well. So I try to orchestrate a fundamental and technical basis for each name that I think will be the biggest winners for each of the presidential candidates. And we'll see where it goes. As of right now, I can't even tell you who's favored because it is just so 50-50. But all I can tell you is be prepared, have a plan, because things will be getting highly volatile in the next couple of weeks, where the market hates uncertainty. And you could see some profit taking occur because the market is up 25% year to date. And they want more clarity before getting through the end of year rally. Because right now we just hit all-time highs. And typically I don't get bearish when we hit a new all-time high, but due to the major catalyst for like the election, I could see some profit taking occurring, especially in the month of October, where things feel a little squeamish on holding names because there's a ton of seasonality weakness. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoy this. The top 6 stocks I'm recommending that I think will benefit the most from this upcoming election. Thank you.